Hey bag maker, today I'm going to be talking about the Tula Pink Oliso mini iron, new cork fabric that we've added to the shop, and also mystery packs. The book review will be for a new book from Sara. Today's bag lab will be a demonstration on how to make a removable zipper pocket, and there's a great giveaway at the end. I'm Sara Lawson from Sew Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Social Sunday, my monthly sewing chat. Hey everyone, happy Sunday and welcome to Social Sunday. Thanks so much for joining me for the show. I see Vanessa and Susan are watching, Joyce is watching from Florida, and Kathleen's watching from Michigan. So welcome everyone. My usual spam reminder, if you're watching over on Facebook and you receive a private message with what looks like our Sew Sweetness logo, oftentimes they're asking for information such as credit card number in order to claim a prize, address or phone number. Please do report or block that. We don't send private messages over Facebook. And if you're watching over on YouTube, if you've left a comment on the show and see a reply to your comment, again, they're usually using our Sew Sweetness logo. In the past, we've often seen in the subject line a phone number in bubble letters, and they're usually asking for the same type of information: credit card, address, phone number. Sometimes they send a link asking you to click on it and make a payment to claim a prize. Please report or block that as well. We never ask for payments for prizes. The prize winner just receives the prize. And I always announce the winner's name for the giveaway verbally on the show, and we've also been adding the winner's names to the description of the show as well, so you can just verify who the winner was for each month of the show. And also, everything that I talk about during Social Sunday are things that I've purchased myself. So these are not things that I'm getting paid to talk to you about, but just cool things that I found that I'd like to share with you. And everything that I'm scheduled to talk about, I link to in the description. So if you're interested in finding out more about any of the books, fabrics, notions, or projects that I talk about during Social Sunday, just check that link in the description and you can find out more information there. So tonight's show is jam-packed. I've been working diligently on tonight's bag lab and I'm super excited about it. But first off, the notion of the week. I didn't order my Tula Pink Oliso mini iron quick enough, so I had to wait for the second batch of shipments to come to the United States, but I finally got mine and I opened it up and I was so excited to start using it. So I'm going to have Danny switch to the overhead camera and I'm going to show you what it looks like and all the features. So first off, the iron. Here's the size of the iron in relation to my hand, and it comes with this little trivet. So there's two sides to the trivet. One side, when you're storing the iron will just slide in front and back, and it'll just keep this silicone trivet attached to the iron. And then if you flip it over, while the iron is in use, you can go ahead and rest it on this silicone tray and it won't burn your pressing surface, which is really nice. Just like the other Oliso irons, you can leave it resting down, and it has a few auto shut-off options. While I'm talking about that, I'm going to go ahead and get it started. So when it's not in use, the red light will be, it'll be a ring of red light over here, and then when I click the button, it turns green, so it's getting started, getting ready to use. So there's a few auto shutoffs for safety. So 3 different options. If the iron is tilted, that'll be 30 seconds until the iron automatically shuts off. 10 minutes when it's horizontal, which is this position right here, and then 30 minutes when it's vertical. So if you're like me and you like to go ahead and grab a snack or use the computer while you're in the middle of sewing, if you just leave your iron as so, it'll shut off after 30 minutes. So I thought that was really great to have those different options. On the top of the iron, I'll try to tilt it so it's not so shiny. These are the different fabric modes over here. There's 1 dot, 2 dots, and 3 dots. So 1 dot's for synthetic fabrics, 2 is for wool or silk, and then 3 is for higher temperatures for cotton and linen. And you can also use the steam setting in the 3 dot setting as well. While you're using the iron, if you'll notice when I there's a little light over here. While you're using it, the light shines ahead so you can see what you're doing, and then as you can see, it's still on, and then when you start to tilt it up, the LED light turns off. I thought that was really handy as well. There's also 2 different settings for steam. This setting over here on the left-hand side shoots steam near the front of the iron, and on the other side, this one shoots steam near the back. I don't want to say back. It doesn't mean there's going to be steam shooting towards you, just the back of the iron. And you can also use the steam setting with the iron vertically like this. Another great feature of this particular iron is that the cord is off to the side, so you can rest the iron and it doesn't get in your way. And I like the idea of having a mini or a smaller iron because, especially when pressing a finished project, it's helpful not to have to rely on the full-size iron, because a lot of times you can get the iron inside your project and press it. Great for pouches, smaller projects, or even bags. So I was really excited to add this to my stash, and I have a link in the description for the Oliso website in case you're interested in checking out the mini iron after the show. Okay, let me get this out of the way. Oh, that's a good question. Mary wanted to know, can you tell us how heavy the iron is? That's a good question. Let me, for reference, I've got my cell phone over here. It's probably, and I'm just guessing, it's probably about twice the weight of my cell phone, 2 or 3 times maybe. I wish I knew off the top of my head. Feel free though to email me after the show, and when my iron's cooled off, I'm happy to put it on my postage scale to get you an accurate weight. But it doesn't feel.
It says 3.7 pounds.
Oh, thank you, Danny. Danny says it's 3.7 pounds. Thanks a lot, Danny. All right, so I have a question for you about irons. Let me know in the comments. Do you already have a mini iron? If you do you like using it? Do you like using both of them? Do you have different purposes for the mini that you don't necessarily use for the full-size iron? Let me know in the comments. It's also great to take, if you go to sewing retreats or classes, it's great to take the smaller iron with you. And also, I like having the mini iron next to my sewing machine. Often when I work on foundation paper piecing, I like to sew each line of stitching and just have the iron right there at my sewing table just to press it on a wool mat.
There's 2 irons that she has. One's 3
Yes.
pounds and one's 2 pounds.
Okay.
So I'm not sure.
Okay. So the regular size Oliso sounds like what Danny mentioned is 3.7 pounds, and perhaps the mini is 2 pounds. Does that sound about right, Danny? Okay, excellent.
They call one project and one's smart.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's my size.
Okay. Good to know. All right, so I had a couple of requests after my last show to share some more of my gardening photos. So I have some things coming into bloom right now. So Danny put together a little carousel of some of my plants in the garden that are blooming right now, but I feel like the bulk of the blooms will be coming later this month and into August as well. So Danny's gonna go ahead and play that carousel picture. So I'm trying my best to fill in my plants a little bit more densely, and I like using a lot of grasses and sedges in between the plants. That's one of my favorites. The one with the balls is called Rattlesnake Master. It's awesome, and it has like yucca type leaves. I think it looks really interesting and a very unique plant, definitely. I have, that one's called Culver's Root. I like that one a lot. It's white kind of spires. Illinois has a few different native roses, and that's climbing rose. Butterfly weed, you might be familiar with that one. One of the few orange native plants in Illinois, at least. Coneflowers. I think everyone's familiar with coneflowers. This is my tallest plant. It's called cup plant. I think these are about 8 feet tall, and it's called cup plant because the leaves kind of form almost a vase shape around the stem, and it collects water in it that birds actually drink from. So that's a really good one as well. So I'll share maybe next month or September perhaps, I'll share some more plants, different ones that have been blooming since this show. And certainly I've been doing a lot of weeding I decided July and August would be my weeding months as opposed to new plantings, just because it's, it's around 80 degrees here in Chicago, depending on the day. So don't necessarily want to be planting when it gets hot, but maybe that's just me. We've got some brand new cork added to the shop, 7 new prints if you like the printed corks. I'm gonna have Danny switch to the overhead camera so that I could show you what they all look like. This one's sort of like a swirl aqua color with some brown accents. I would say this one's probably my favorite out of the new prints, just sort of a artistic watercolor type print. And these are all on our natural cork background fabric. Hexagons. This one's upside down. This one's fabulous. This one's got kind of an all over print with tropical birds. And for hand reference, here's my hand with the size of the birds. I've got leopards. This was another one with more or less all over color ink. And then I've got a couple more. This kind of reminds me of like a fall, like forest floor scene. And then I've got one more. This was a good one too. I love polka dots, so I thought this one was really great. Kind of a rose print with some polka dots. And these are all available in the shop in 2 different sizes, 18 by 27 and 18 by 54. I've also got a couple new, actually just one new backpack. This is a canvas print with a quilting cotton for the lining. Something designed by Rashida Coleman Hale, and just, I really love her as a designer, so I wanted to add these to the shop. So let me know in the comments if any of those corks caught your eye, if you had a favorite, maybe the leopard, maybe you liked the print with the birds or the hexagons. Let me know in the comments which one you liked the best. And let's see. I know I've been talking about adding mystery packs of fabric from my stash to the shop for quite a while, but my horse recently had several expensive vet bills come up, so I decided now's the time to list finally the mystery packs in the shop. So I've got a couple of examples of, obviously all the fabrics in my stash are pretty much just one-offs, so these are just examples of what you may receive in the mystery pack. So each pack is 3 yards of fabric. I want to say the vast majority of the fabrics in my stash are quilting cotton, and by that I mean quilt shop quality quilting cotton. I do have a few canvas or bark cloth, but I want to say 99% is quilting cotton. So here's an example of just some of the fabrics that are in my stash that I'm pulling to add to the mystery pack. So it'll be 3 yards of fabric, 1 yard of 3 different prints for $33. And I have a link in the description in case you're interested, and I'll just keep pulling fabrics for mystery packs until the vet bills are, obviously they're paid, but I would like to kind of recoup the vet bill costs. My horse is fine, but I just kind of wanted to use my fabric stash to fund the vet bills, if that makes sense. All right, so my friend Sara Thomas has a brand new book out. It's called Rainbow Quilt Color Method, and I was super excited to purchase a signed copy of the book from her Etsy shop. I've also linked to her Etsy shop in the description in case you would like a signed copy as well. But if you're a fan of rainbow like I am, then I think you're going to really enjoy this quilt book from Sara Thomas. So Danny's going to switch to the overhead camera, and I'm going to show you the projects that are in the book. So Sara does a really good job at the beginning of the book discussing different color combinations. Even though the projects in the book are generally rainbow colored, it's important to have just a basic idea of the color wheel. And she talks about different techniques that are used in the book, such as sewing with curves, foundation paper piecing. So that's all in the the beginning portion of the book, and now here's all the projects. And I really like how she assigns, assuming that you're making also rainbow colored quilts, I like that there's different assignments of the colors, so you can choose fabrics from your stash. And you certainly don't have to use solids. You can also use sort of what I like to call blender or monochromatic type fabrics like these. These are also designed by Sara. And I just think my eye just really enjoys the different array of the colors in the book. I really like this one. I like the intersections of the colors. This is one of my favorites. I have probably 4 or 5 favorites in the book, if I'm being honest. This is another one. I think I would make this one first out of all the projects in the book. I like this one also with the fans. This is another one of my favorites. And Sara also has different alternate fabrics if you don't necessarily want to make your quilt in rainbow colors. Love this one as well. So here's an example of just that. So here is the quilt that was shown in the book, and here's an alternate quilt made up in different colors, red, white, and blue. And any quilts that use templates, love this one also. The templates are in the back of the book, so you can either trace or copy those templates for use in making the quilts. And again, the book is called Rainbow Quilt Color Method, and there's a link in the description to Sara's Etsy shop in case you'd like to purchase a signed copy. All right, so I have one more. Lately I've been suggesting fiction books as well. So Danny's gonna put a picture up on the screen of my fiction recommendation for this month. This book is called The Giver of Stars, and it's about a team of women that deliver books as part of a lending library. This is kind of Eleanor Roosevelt's traveling library on horseback, based on a true story. Obviously the horseback part got me, but it's more about the stories about the people delivering the books, the families receiving the books, and I just loved it, and I hope you will too. So I've linked to that particular book in the description in case you're interested in checking that out. And Danny, are you ready?
We're interrupting the show for a special report.
Because now it is time for Bag Lab.
All right, tonight's Bag Lab. This idea is actually from Michelle Tripp. Michelle made me this fantastic amethyst project bag in Tula Pink's new fabric line Roar. As you can see, she used a selvage across the front of the amethyst project bag. She made these really cool, it actually looks like dinosaur teeth, which I thought was super fun. Let me show you the back as well. Michelle does an awesome job with piecing, quilting, using different techniques, and I feel like it really speaks to the feeling of the fabric. And let's see.
Blades of brass.
Oh yeah. Let me open it up to show you what tonight's demonstration is, thanks to Michelle's idea. I've also linked to Michelle Tripp's Instagram in the description of tonight's show. I hope you'll check out her Instagram for more inspiration. But on the inside of the amethyst project bag, in my original pattern, this zipper pocket was actually stitched to the lid of the bag, but Michelle had a really great idea to make it actually a removable zipper pocket. So this will be tonight's demonstration, how to add a removable zipper pocket to your project. And this will work with an array of different projects, wherever you actually have room to place this zipper pocket. So I'm going to have Danny switch to the overhead camera so that I can show you how this actually comes together. So here's a couple examples of the zipper pocket. Michelle had a really great idea to use clear vinyl, and so that will be included in tonight's demonstration. Let me just put this to the side. All right, so here's my little demo version, as you can see, it's got the 2 male snaps on the back of the zipper pocket, and then you'll also attach the 2 female snaps to wherever you're adding the zipper pouch to that you would like to attach it to. So let me pull out Michelle's project one more time. So here she's got the 2 magnetic snaps, the female portion, and then the zipper pouch just clicks in there. So fantastic idea. I super love this, and it's actually not terribly difficult to put together. So first off, you'll want to check the link in the description. I have a link for a single page PDF document. This is for the pattern piece for making this project. So you'll just want to make sure that your either 1 inch square or 4 centimeter square measures correctly, and then go ahead and cut your pattern piece out to the outside of the thick black line. Even though there's a dashed line over here, we're not going to cut out along the dashed line. We're just going to conserve the entire piece, and the dashed line will be used to cut out actually the clear vinyl. Okay, so you'll use this piece to cut out all of the pieces listed here. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory what needs to be cut out. You'll also need to cut out some additional pieces not using the pattern piece. And I also have information about the snap placement on the piece, just so you have all of that information in one place. Okay, so I started out by attaching the Shapeflex interfacing to my exterior and lining fabric. So I'm going to use this larger print for my lining just so you can see it inside the finished pouch. So both pieces have Shapeflex interfacing attached to them already. And I'm going to start off with my exterior piece, which is this piece right here. And I'm going to go ahead and attach Decovil Heavy. I'm not going to fuse it in place. For this particular project, I just wanted to machine base it to the fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and lay my fabric on top of the Decovil Light. Sorry, if I said Decovil Heavy, I meant Decovil Light. I'm just going to use some Wonder Clips to hold that in place. And I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to sew the entire outer edge using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And if you'll notice, I've got my Teflon foot on my machine already. Since I'm anticipating using that clear vinyl, I just went ahead and put the Teflon foot on my machine right off the bat. Okay, so next we're going to install the magnetic snaps, and like I mentioned previously, there's information on the pattern piece for placement of the magnetic snaps. So the magnetic snaps are going to be 3/4 of an inch down from the top edge and 2.5 inches to either side of center. So I'm going to use my paper pattern piece to find the center, and I'm going to mark top and bottom for the center. And then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to measure, I'm going to lay the ruler so that it's 3/4 of an inch down from the top edge of the fabric. I'm actually going to line the 6 on my ruler up with that center marking, and then I'm going to count 2.5 inches to the right of center, and then 2.5 inches to the left of center. Okay, so I'm going to use those markings to place the magnetic snap, and I'm actually going to use my rivet press. You can also use traditional magnetic snaps with the prongs, but lately I've just been obsessed with using my rivet press, so I figured I'd use that live on the show. So I'm going to first insert my hole punch dies on my rivet press, and whenever I'm punching holes, I like to have a little scrap of fabric over here, just to, as you can see, I've sort of scratched up my plate already a little bit, so I'm just going to go ahead and place the fabric. And then I'm going to make holes just where the markings are. Okay, so I'm going to swap out this die really quick for the dies for inserting the magnetic snaps. And it's just got a piece down here and there's a second piece over here. And I've linked in the description to my video on how I install magnetic snaps with my rivet press, just in case you'd like to see my full video in detail. Okay, so because I've got two holes over here, I need two male magnetic snaps, and the backs of the snaps for my rivet press have sort of like a rivet looking finish to them. So I'm going to go ahead and insert those male snaps and then place the rivet on the back. Okay, so all I need to do is just place this on my rivet press and finish off the snaps. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take what I'm using for my lining fabric, and I'm going to place it so that both of these fabrics are wrong sides together, and so my lining fabric is going to cover up the back edge of the snaps. So again, I'm going to use wonder clips to hold the layers of the fabric, and then I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine, and again I'm going to stitch the entire outer edge using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so now I'm going to put this to the side for now, and we're going to start working with the clear vinyl. So I'm using the 16 gauge clear vinyl by Annie, and the nice thing about her clear vinyl is it comes attached to this paper, so the back is really nice for drawing out pattern pieces, which I did for this particular piece. Okay, so there's 3 different pieces of binding fabric that I cut out for this particular project, and all of the pieces are listed on the pattern piece. So I've got an 8" by 3 1/4 inch piece of fabric, an 8" long by 2 1/4 inch piece of fabric, and then the long piece of binding, it needs to be cut on a 45-degree angle so that it's stretchy. So this one's 19 inches by 2 1/4 of an inch. Okay, we're gonna start off with the 2 1/4 inch wide piece of binding. I'm going to just finger press it in half wrong sides together, and I'm going to attach it to the top edge of the clear vinyl and hold it in place with some wonder clips. Okay, I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and sew this pinned edge using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, I'm going to have Danny switch to the overhead camera. And now I'm going to go ahead and finger press the fabric away from the clear vinyl, and I'm going to flip it over. You should see a stitching line from when we just sewed the fabric to the clear vinyl. I'm going to wrap the folded edge of the binding over so that it just covers the stitching line, and I'm going to hold that in place with some wonder clips. Okay, again, I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to be stitching just this lower edge of the binding 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the fabric, and I'm going to slightly increase my stitch length to 3 millimeters for this top stitching. Okay, now I'm going to take out my zipper, and I pre-cut this. Again, the information is on the paper pattern piece. You'll need a trimmed zipper that's 8 inches long. So I'm using a handbag zipper. This is actually by Annie zipper. That's number 4.5. You can also use a number 5. And I'm going to use some basting tape. This is the by Annie basting tape. You can also use Dritz Wash Away Wonder Tape. And I'm going to apply the tape just to the very lower edge of the zipper tape. Okay, and I usually like to stab a corner of the paper with my fingernail because it kind of helps to lift the paper away from the tape. Well, let me try the other side. There we go. So I'm going to overlap the binding on top of the zipper tape by about 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to go ahead and press that down. Okay, I'm going to take this back over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to top stitch the top edge of the binding now, 1/8 inch away from the edge of the fabric. Okay, now it's time for the other 8 inch long piece of binding. This one's 3¼ inch wide. So again, I'm going to finger press it wrong sides together in half so that both of the long edges are aligned. And this time I'm going to pin it to the right side of the zipper. Okay, I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch this edge. Here's what it looks like from the back, using 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I'm going to switch back to my regular stitch length on my machine. That is 2.5 millimeters. Okay, I'm going to finger press that fabric away from the zipper, and I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to top stitch this lower edge of this binding piece, again 1/8 inch away from the edge of the fabric, and I'm going to slightly increase my stitch length to 3 millimeters for this top stitching. Okay, now I'm going to pull out the piece that I assembled so far. I'm going to place the snaps so that they're face down. And I'm going to attach the clear vinyl so that the side and bottom edges are aligned. I'm going to use some wonder clips to hold this in place. And I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to start stitching just across the zipper tape, sew the sides and the bottom, and I'll stop sewing through the zipper tape. I'm not going to continue sewing through the top edge just yet. And this part here is why the Teflon foot's helpful, because as you can see, I'm sewing on top of the clear vinyl. see I have a little bit of overhang of the clear vinyl, so I'm going to trim that even with the fabric just because I already know that will be in my way later on. Okay, so we have this top binding piece over here. We need to finish that piece, so I'm going to flip to the other side where the snaps are, and I'm going to wrap the binding so that it just covers the stitching line. Okay, you might prefer to use a zipper foot here. I'm just going to go ahead and use my regular foot, but just because the snaps are so close, depending on the feet that you have for your machine, just take a look first, and if you need to swap out to your zipper foot, you can. But I'm going to sew the lower edge of the binding 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the fabric. Okay, we have one last piece of fabric to get to, and that's the binding that we cut on the 45-degree angle. So to start, I'm going to press this toward the wrong side on just one short end by 1/2 inch. And you'll want to use your iron for this. I just don't have my iron mat. I kind of tossed it off to the side, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this by hand. I'm going to start by attaching the binding to this top corner, and we're going to be using wonder clips to attach it all the way around. And actually, I'm going to start by pinning it to the side with the magnetic snaps. So you want to make sure the top edges of both are aligned, and this is that edge that I pressed toward the wrong side by 1/2 inch. I'm just finger pressing the binding wrong sides together, and then using the wonder clips to hold it in place. And when you start approaching the opposite corner, whatever excess you have that comes off the edge of the fabric, just go ahead and press that toward the wrong side. Okay, so I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine, and we're going to stitch this using 1/4 inch seam allowance. And when you get to the corners, sew slowly and make sure that all of the edges as you sew through them are nice and flat so that you don't sew through a pucker. And I'm using my regular stitch length for this. All right, so I'm going to stop with the needle down, lift the presser foot up, smooth that fabric out, and then continue sewing. Okay, so now we have one last thing to sew. We need to just finish the binding. So to do that, I'm going to flip this project over, and I'm just going to wrap the binding over so that it covers that stitching line that we just made. And the reason that we need this piece of binding to be cut on a 45-degree angle is because it needs to stretch and it needs to wrap through the curves. If you just cut a straight piece of fabric, it wouldn't stretch through the curve. So I'm going to just go ahead and trim this because I noticed when I went to wrap the binding over, I didn't have quite enough fabric. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim a little bit of this away. Make sure to conserve the curved edge still. Okay, and I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and sew the pinned edge 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the fabric, and I'm going to lengthen my stitch length for this top stitching. All right, as you can see, the pouch is finished. It really didn't take me that long to put together, and I thought it was a really great feature to have to be able to add to whatever project that you're sewing. And as mentioned previously, the female portions of the magnetic snaps will be installed somewhere in the body of your project, and you'll use the same measurements that I mentioned on the pattern piece. The snaps are 5 inches apart, and you'll just want to make sure it's 5 inches apart in your project as well. Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the kind words. And thank you also to Michelle Tripp for the fantastic idea. Julie says, what an easy pouch to make. Tracy says, I'm so excited about this removable pocket. I see making this for other bags too. Wendy says, I'm not good with curves. Could you make it with a 90-degree angle? Oh yeah, that's a great question, Wendy. So on the pattern piece, when you print out your page, just take your ruler and you can go ahead and just draw a straight line this way vertically, and you can also draw a straight line horizontally wherever those lines connect. Then you'll have your straight corner, and you can easily use that instead of the curve. I would suggest cutting your binding a little bit longer than the 19 inches since you'll have a little bit more ground to cover. Actually, perhaps you would consider, if you had the straight edge, assembling it kind of like quilt binding with the mitered corners. I think that would look really nice as well. And just to mention again, the free printable pattern piece is in the description of the show. You just click on the link and it will download. It's just a single page and you can just print it and get right off to work. All right, Danny, were there any questions while I was working on that demonstration? Or just comments mostly? Monique says, is there an alternative to the rivet press? Thanks very much. There's there's a few options depending on what you're looking for. In the demonstration, I did use my rivet press to install magnetic snaps. If you don't have a rivet press or just don't want to install magnetic snaps on your rivet press, you'll just look for the magnetic snaps with the prongs on the back. They're very common. And I also have a link in the description to our magnetic snaps. These have the prongs as well. An alternative to rivets, I know a lot of people like using rivets, but not everyone has a rivet press. Chicago screws are a really great option, alternative to rivets. Chicago screws, you just screw in place instead of using a press to install them, and they give pretty much the same look. And with the Chicago screws, you don't need any additional tools besides, of course, the screwdriver. Cecilia says, do you use all-purpose thread on the vinyl? That's a great question. I did use, for this demonstration, Aurifil 40 weight thread, which is what I normally use for bag making. So that worked for this particular project as well, sewing through the vinyl and the layers of fabric and interfacing. Stephanie says, Sarah, can you tell us where you get the magnetic snaps for the rivet press? I want to get some, but it seems every time I visit the shop, Minkus Margot, they are closed. I have a link, Stephanie, in my description for my rivet press video. I did buy, actually I'm going to have Danny switch to the overhead camera. So these are the dies that I bought from Cam Snaps, and the links to these are within my rivet press video. So if you click on that, these will come up. So it comes, first let me show you what my rivet press looks like. This is my rivet press. The dies that I bought from Cam Snaps are, I bought this adapter so that it fits in my rivet press, and it comes with 3 different parts. This is the part for the female snap, just because it has a raised portion over here. This part for the male snap, and these go in the bottom of the press, either one depending on which half of the magnetic snap that you're installing. It sits like this in the press. And then the top part has the, if you recall, let me pull out my extra snaps. When I installed the snap, one snap had the actual snap part and the other half had the rivet looking part. So this half of the die goes against the part that looks like the rivet. So this snaps into the snap, and you use the rivet press to kind of condense that. So these are the parts that I purchased from Cam Snaps, and it was these 3 dies plus the adapter for my particular press. Oh, great comment, Linda. Linda mentioned that Velcro would work also. Yes, Velcro would work. You could just attach it, instead of the snaps, you could sew it to the top edge. And the same thing for your project. Instead of, you'll just want the same length of the Velcro, the other portion, I guess the rough portion, if you're putting the loop on one. You'll put the other part into your project if you're using Velcro instead. Rebecca said, where's the pattern? So the printable PDF pattern, if you click on the description of the show, it'll take you to my blog post for tonight's show, and there is a clickable link that says, what is this called? Removable zipper pocket. There's a list of links. I believe it's near the end of the list of links. And if you just click on that blue hyperlink, it'll download the PDF document for this pattern piece. Mary says, why did you not iron on the Decoville? That's a good question. I probably should have done that. Sometimes I'm concerned with some of the interfacings, the Decoville interfacings, creating wrinkles, especially since I just use Shape Flex on my fabric. But since I'm not turning anything right side out, it would have been perfectly fine to iron the Decoville light. I did not for this demonstration. I'm going to be honest, I just didn't think about it, but I also did not have a functioning iron on my table because I kind of tossed everything to the side after my Tula Pink mini iron demonstration. But yeah, you certainly could iron the Decoville light to your fabric instead of just stitching it in place. Winless Original says, I'm working through some gold flecked cork from your shop. I love it. I want to make everything with it. Yeah, the natural corks with the metallic fleck, gold fleck, silver. We also have some colored metallic flecks. They're really beautiful, and I think they are nice and subtle against the natural cork. They're not super busy, but I feel like they give an extra bit of like a classy touch, if you will, to the corks. Kyla says, what is the most common size grommet you use in your patterns? I want to buy grommet dies for my rivet press, but do not know where to start. I actually, if you check out my rivet press video, if you Google So Sweetness video rivet press, I believe that video should come up, and I discuss all the different sizes that I have in my personal stash. Obviously, it might depend on what project you're working for, if it's a pattern that calls for a certain size of grommet, but if you check out that video, I show and link and discuss all the different sizes of dies and rivets, grommets, all of that. I have that in the video. All right, let's get over. Danny, was that all the questions, or was that only the questions about the demonstration?
I was doing all the questions.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so since Danny did the questions, did you by any chance do your pick of the week, Danny?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Let's get over to Danny's pick of the week, and then actually I want to announce the winner of last month's giveaway before we get over to Danny's pick of the week. That winner was Jean McNeil 8997. So congratulations to you. Again, that was Jean McNeil 8997. That was the winner of last month's giveaway, and there will be another giveaway at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. And Danny, take it away.
All right, up first, we have Beth with the Sweet Bay bag. I love this fabric. It comes in so many different color combinations, and every time I see it, I love it. It was a great job choosing it for this bag. It looks great. Excellent sewing. Kudos to you. Next up, we have Debbie. She made a chickadee, and if Sarah noticed, there's a Mickey Mouse. I want to call them a pilot, but I know they're not called pilots. Sea Captain. Sarah, help me out with that one.
I think that sounds appropriate.
Whoever pilots the ship.
I love the anchor zipper pulls too. I noticed that right away.
And next we have Carlene made an amethyst. I love the fabric choices she made with this. I like that she uses the two different colors for the handles and the side panel. It looks great with the Tula Pink. Great job. And last but not least is Susan from Riety's Bags. Super Bloom that she modified somewhat, but I loved it. It was denim she used. I love the zippers she chose with the. It just looked great. Great color combination. It looks very fancy, but yeah, I love it. Great job, Susan.
I like that she added the strap to the side of the bag. In the original pattern, the handles are on the front, but I love the tabs with the side strap. I thought it was a great idea, and I thought it looked really nice with the denim. All right.
Those are my picks.
Thanks, Danny. And thanks, everyone, for posting your pictures on social media. We love seeing them, of course. And I guess, Captain. Thank you, Suzanne.
These are both right answers.
Admiral. Oh, that's a good one, too. All right. So the giveaway prize for tonight is I bought an extra copy of Rainbow Quilt's Color Method. I have it right here. It's still in the wrapper. So that's the giveaway prize for tonight. This one is not signed, but I think the winner will still enjoy it. The giveaways are randomly drawn. You have until the end of the day this Saturday to leave a comment on the show wherever you watch, either on Facebook or YouTube. We add up all the comments together, and then I will announce the winner on next month's show. Next month, I forgot to write down. Danny, is the first Sunday of August 2nd?
I have it in the show. It's August 4th.
August 4th. Okay, so our next show for August will be on August 4th. It'll be at the same time as always, 7 p.m. Central Time. And I have an extra question that you can use as an extra method of entry for the giveaway. I wanted to know, what is your favorite fruit-based dessert? Maybe you like apple pie. Maybe you like lemon bars. Maybe you like a raspberry crumble. Let me know in the comments what your favorite fruit-based dessert is. And again, our next show will be on Sunday, August 4th at 7 p.m. Central Time. I hope you have a great upcoming week. Happy sewing, and bye, everybody.